Hello, back again with another episode of Real Health Talk with Dr. Coring. My name is Dr. Coring. I am a board certified internal medicine physician who's training right now to be a hematologist and oncologist. And it's my pleasure to educate common folks such as yourself regarding various health topics to stay well. Essentially, I am passionate about health literacy and encouraging health literacy and closing the health illiteracy gap, especially among Black and Brown people. And so, therefore, the topic that I would like to discuss today is sunscreen. Yes, sunscreen for Black and Brown people. Essentially, talking about tailoring your sunscreen for your skin type. Why do you need sunscreen? Why would somebody as dark as myself, I am pretty dark, I'm an African American man, and why would somebody like me, for example, want to wear or need to wear or is recommended to wear sunscreen? Well, the answer is simple: to protect you from UV rays. And I know, it's a misconception. It's a misconception. People feel as though the darker your skin, the more protection you have from UV rays. And that's absolutely true. I agree. But it does not take away the need for the utilization of sunscreen. Simply because even though you do have the protection from the UV sun rays, you're still not totally 100% protected. Yes, these UV sun rays can still cause damage to your beautiful darker skin. And so therefore, there's still a need for sunscreen, even for somebody who is as beautifully dark as myself. And so today I would like to discuss, basically, just reiterate what are the risk factors for UV sun ray damage to your skin. And it's pretty obvious. What are the features? How do UV rays skin damage look like? What would you expect that to look like? And so, what are the symptoms essentially of UV sun ray skin damage? And then also, the most important thing is how can we protect our skin from the damage that the UV rays can cause to our skin? And when I'm saying UV rays, I'm talking about the ultraviolet sun rays. All right. And so, essentially, let's start by saying, why do we need to be protected from these UV rays? One, it reduces skin cancer. And then two, it reduces aging. It's called photoaging. And so, yes, the UV rays can cause the skin to age. All right. And so skin cancer is important to protect, even though our melanin in your darker skin naturally gives you a good solid protection from skin cancer. But you still can get skin cancer because of UV sun ray damage. But even more of a pronounced benefit is the protection against photoaging, protection against aging of the skin. All right. And so, what is photoaging? Well, photoaging is a premature skin aging that is responsible for most of the age-associated skin changes, especially with people who have a prolonged and repeated exposure to the actual UV rays. And it's more pronounced in people with fair or less pigmented skin, but it also happens to people such as myself with essentially darker skin. All right. And so the way it happens is ultraviolet rays are radiation. And, there's various ultraviolet rays. You got the UVB and the UVA rays. All right. And so these are the waves at this wavelength that can cause essentially damage to the skin by essentially damaging the DNA of the cells of the skin. And once that DNA becomes damaged, essentially the skin takes on a new contour. It takes on a new shape. It takes on a new life, essentially, a worse life, a damaged life, which causes photoaging. And so how does that look? Well, people who have photo-aged skin, they present with wrinkles, moles, hyperpigmentation in certain areas, um, something called actinic keratosis. Basically, the skin could get hard, can cause some scalpy lesions as well. The skin loses elasticity, all right? Start sagging a little bit. You see that around the face, around the eyes. Loses its texture as well. And so we have to protect against that. And the way we do that is sun protection, photo protection, knowing and understanding when to be out in the sun and when not to. And so understanding the peak hours that the sun is going to be out, which typically in most places between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And if we're out in the sun during these times, what should we do? And that brings me to my next point. We should use sunscreen. All right? Sunscreen. We should protect ourselves. But before I talk about sunscreen, we should talk about other ways, practical ways. Basically using long sleeves, long garments, light garments, garments that are essentially reflecting and not absorbing. So neon, white color garments and not the dark color garments. Breathable garments. All right. So these types of cloth material that's not so absorbing is very beneficial. Also, sunglasses. The UV rays are not only harmful to the skin, but also the sclera, the eyes. All right. So we have to protect our eyes with sunglasses. And then finally, sunscreen. So this is an interesting topic because it's a misconception. All right. They did a study basically assessing over 100 African Americans, basically asking them a basic question. Do you wear sunscreen? Do you not wear sunscreen? And believe it or not, about 65, 68% of African Americans admitted that they never ever wore sunscreen. And I would have been, if you would have asked me this question years ago, I would have said no. I will go to the beach without sunscreen, ignorantly thinking that I'm naturally protected from the UV rays, which you are. You do have some protection, but not 100% total protection, all right? And so that's where the sunscreen comes into play. But before that, you need to know your skin type, meaning they have something called the Fitzpatrick scale. And Fitzpatrick was a dermatologist trained at Harvard in the 70s, and he classified human skin into 6 basic categories based on its response to UV light exposure. And the categories are based on how pale versus how dark your skin is. And so if you're a type 1, for example, you have basically your pale white skin, blue, green eyes, blonde hair, red hair. All the way to type 6, which is somebody like myself, dark brown skin to black skin. And then in the middle, which would be maybe a type 3, you'll be a darker white skin, and then right below that, light brown skin. So most African Americans are a type 4, type 5, and or type 6. The reason why that's important is because you should tailor your sun protection or your sunscreen based on your Fitzpatrick skin type. So for example, if you are a type 5 and 6, like myself, then you would use a broad spectrum sunscreen. What that means is you would need protection against UVA and UVB rays, rays, and then also the SPF is important. And so you would require somebody like me a SPF of 15 to 30. And, you would basically reapply this sunscreen basically every 3 to 4 hours as long as you're in the sun for protection, because the sun, it wears off. You go in the water, you sweat, so you have to reapply. It's very important. There's a risk to that. It can cause hyperpigmentation, but so you have to be careful about overdoing it. And also you need protection by blocking the UV rays from your eyes, and so you would also need sunglasses. The SPF is what's mainly what I wanted to talk about here. And so basically, if you are skin type that darker skin, type 4 to type 6, you would need at least an SPF of 15 to 30. Uh, if you're a 5 to 6, 15 to 30. If you're maybe a 4, maybe a 30. If you're a 3, 30 plus, you reapply every 3 to 4 hours. If you are type 3 to 4, maybe every 2 to 3 hours. But if you're a skin type Fitzpatrick 5 to 6, you don't have to reapply this sunscreen that frequently. Maybe just every 4 to 6 hours. All right. So it's very important to understand that. Also, if you work in sun, if you exposed to the sun because of your work conditions, then it's very important that you take heed to this recommendation. All right. So if you're a gardener, if you are a football coach, you're working outside. I don't know what else, outside laborers. If you're a roofer, if you're a construction worker, these types of jobs, you want to wear sun protective garments, sun protective eye gear, and also sunscreen. And also, hats with large brims as well. Okay? So to summarize, if you're African American, darker skin type, Fitzpatrick skin type, 4 to 6, you should protect yourself from harmful UV rays, meaning harmful sun rays, especially if you are exposed to sun radiation chronically. Why is this important? It's important to reduce photoaging, so wrinkles, moles, and it's also important to reduce cancer. Even though if you are a skin type 4 to 6, your risk for cancer is much lower than somebody who is a skin type 1 through 3, but still, you still have a risk of developing cancer, more of a risk of developing photoaging. And so that's mainly what I would like to discuss, and that was my main takeaway, and using sunscreen to help protect against these rays, as well as long garments, sunglasses, large brim hats. That's my time, guys. Protect yourself from the harmful UV rays. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Bye.